Days after trying to ban international students at US's Harvard University, the Trump administration now looks to be slowing down all international student visa processing and tightening requirements for international students looking to come on campus in the US. Reports say that the US administration has asked its embassies and consular sections to pause scheduling new interviews for student visa applicants as it considers requiring all foreign students to undergo social media vetting as part of their application. And that report has cited this from a diplomatic cable. The order was issued via a diplomatic cable sent on Tuesday, signed by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, according to the reports. Meanwhile, the United States of America has issued a fresh warning for Indian and foreign students in the country on a student visa. As per that announcement shared by the US Embassy in India, foreign students found skipping classes or dropping out of their courses may risk losing their visa. The announcement read, and I quote here, "If you drop out, skip classes, or leave your program of study without informing your school, your student visa may be revoked and you may lose eligibility for future US visas. Always adhere to the terms of your visa and maintain your student status to avoid any issues." Unquote. Now bear in mind, as we tell you all of this, as of now, there is no official US government advisory stating that Indian students should avoid applying for US student visas. But the question is, should Indian students aspiring to go to the US be prepared for tough times ahead, just like Indian students already in the US? And to answer that question and more, we have a couple of special guests joining us on the broadcast. We have Saurabh Arora, founder and CEO of University Living, a company that enables accommodation for students going abroad from India. We also have Dr. Amalendu Mishra, professor of international politics at Lancaster University, now with us on the broadcast. Thank you, Dr. Amalendu Mishra, for being with us. I'm going to begin by Dr. Amalendu Mishra, and then I bring it back to you, Saurabh, as well. Dr. Amalendu Mishra, what exactly is going on with the US administration? And we know where the problem stems from. It is from the Palestine-Israel conflict and the ramifications of that led to so many student visas being revoked in question. But then, what happens to Indian student visas now?
Thank you for your question, Krishnaji. First of all, we have to look at it in the overall context. As we have seen, President Trump doesn't care too much about free speech. He doesn't care too much about intellectual freedom in universities in the United States, or for that matter, anywhere else in the world. So this can be seen as a political move to address the question of what the Trump administration sees as anti-Semitism in the United States university campuses. So it is on a mission to root out the challenges that comes to the US government and its relationship with the Jewish community and the state of Israel. To go back to your question on what happens to the future of Indian students, so let's talk about some statistics. In the year 2023, that's just 2 years back, India had sent 140,000 students, that is 140,000 students to the United States on student visas. And as we have seen in the recent months, some of those students have fallen foul of the new rulings of the Trump administration so far as anti-Semitic activities are concerned. That implies that if they have taken a pro-Palestinian stance, they are going to be evicted from the US universities, their visas would be revoked. And as we have seen, some of these Indian students have voluntarily repatriated, in the sense that they have left their campuses and fighting legal cases from a distance. So this is not very good news, especially for Indian students, because although it has not been implemented as such in terms of stopping the vetting of new student applications, visa applications, this shouldn't come as a surprise, because in the past, what United States government has done, if they're issuing you a tourist visa also, they were looking into your social media accounts. So now this is kind of extended to the student section. And given that the students are very politically active everywhere in the world, so they want to make sure that they are only getting the students that they think are going to be favorable to US foreign policy, or for that matter, internal domestic politics as
Right,
well.
right, right. Stay with us. So let me bring this back to our guest in the studio with us, Saurabh Arora, founder and CEO of University Living. Saurabh, you run a company, a tech company, actually, so to speak, that enables accommodation for Indian students, relocating abroad to anywhere. But then, fact of the matter is this: highest number of students going abroad from India go to the US. They are the largest student community in the US, so to speak. The number of visas issued to Indian students in the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024, have been at an all-time high. And yet, this year, 2025, we're talking about a brand new administration in the US, a brand new set of challenges that the US is dealing with. Talk to us, how worried should students be?
As you mentioned, first of all, thank you for inviting, and pleasure to be on the show, Krishan. And interesting year, interesting times. That's why I start with very very interesting era. As you mentioned, Trump era. So no one knows what's going to happen. You sleep on the right side, you don't know what's going to happen in the morning. So bracing all the news since morning. Phone been ringing. There are lots of messages. What's not. But see, where I believe first, we need to understand, we need to calm down nerves, every one of us, right? And this, we are talking about education. We are talking about something which is as important as food or marriage in Indian context, right? And people who are planning to go or already been going, paid deposits, your visa might be tomorrow, So the news is new visa is getting halt. So first wait and watch, calm down, calm the nerves.
Even that, there is no official confirmation on that the
Yes.
new visa interviews are being paused. It is
Yeah.
just a report. Media
Report.
reports are doing the rounds. The US embassy in India is yet to tell Indian students anything,
Absolutely.
and the US government is yet to tell international students as to we are pausing these visa interviews. So far, they are reports.
Yes,
Right? There is no
exactly.
confirmation on it.
Exactly. In fact, there was a like last couple of weeks back, there was a proposal by UK government about keeping a cap on dependent visa. So these are reports, proposals. These are not decisions. So this is where that's why this is my peak time, right? That's why I took a pause. I'm like, okay, let me go, and if we can address the elephant in the room, like now calm down the nerves. It's wait and watch times, and they are reports. These are not decisions, right? And we need to be understanding of this point that education is important, and you've been preparing for like 5 years, 10 years. Your parents might be investing, saving for years, so don't have any knee-jerk reactions. And this is my request to all the media, all the ecosystem, everyone, that I'm glad that you've been pointing out that these are reports, right? So calm down, wait and watch. And international education is very very important, not only for Indian students, not only for Chinese or international students, it's also for every university. I mean, there are numbers, international university will not sustain if we don't get not only Indian but international students.
Right.
So we don't need to be worried. The administrative, the authorities, they will take care of this.
Right. Very good point you make, Dr. Amalendra Mishra. These universities in the US need Indian students and international students as much as the students need those universities.
Well, that's a very fair point, because if I can give you the statistics from the British universities, for decades they have been dependent on overseas students to sustain themselves. And we are going through a crisis here in the United Kingdom because there has been a drop in the student numbers from China, India, and other parts of the world. So the fall in international students affects the economy of the universities, and it affects the economy of the country as a whole as well. But the point is whether Trump administration is bothered about the impact that it is going to have on the economy, overall economy. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, education in particular, and United States is a recipient of this multi-billion-dollar package that comes with the overseas students. But the reason why I'm a bit concerned about the latest move on part of the Trump administration, when it has ordered its embassies around the world to stop scheduling appointments for student visas. Okay, I mean, it doesn't sort of impact upon those who have been issued interview schedules already, but it doesn't talk about the future ones. The fact is that United States government at the moment is on a war path on its own established universities, such as Harvard, as we saw. It has cancelled its ability, its rights to issue visas to overseas students. it has cancelled the multi-billion-dollar aid package from the education department. So it doesn't look very convincing so far as the future of international students are concerned. And let me sort of stress, United States is not alone in this specific kind of tightening of the bolt, so to speak, so far as international students are concerned. We saw a kind of revisiting of the policy in the case of Canada, which was receiving quite a lot of Indian students. And the issue was immigration, housing, so on and so forth. And here also in Britain, they have been mulling over reducing the number of visas, the issue to the spouses, and the ability of the students who graduate to work in the subsequent period. So it is a worldwide phenomenon. I think we shouldn't just sort of ostracize the Trump administration for doing something along these lines.
uh, that's a very fair point that you make over there. Stay with us, Saurabh Arora. Yeah, one is what this new administration in America could do. Nobody knows. Even you would admit to that. We really don't know how they're going to react and do things going forward. They might just belie all logic. Despite the fact that the less international students will impact the U.S. As an economy, they might still go ahead and do what they have to do. But the other question being asked is that you spend so much and you go to the US, the questions are also on the job opportunities over there. Now you have a double whammy. There's a question over job opportunities and there's a question over the visa availability as well.
Yeah. So totally agree, right? I mean, in fact, at University Living, we studied at a housing platform. Now become a post-admission, wherein from housing till employability, we are doing something. I'm not saying that I'm providing jobs. I want to give that, don't want to have a marketing gimmick of like you book through us, so you get a job. No. But can we tell you the right thing? Can we demyth you? Because most of us have studied abroad. We have worked there, So firstly, I always say, please, as a global mobility, we all need to shout out and point out, going abroad for immigration and education, this need to be segregated. If you're going for education, they are still, focused on the skills. The university needs you, even if they are having a social media vetting, even if they have, if you see deeply, they mention if you are not a genuine student, if you are not attending your classes, if you are not, you are compromising your student visa status. If you are maintaining that, you don't need to worry about it, right? So, if you go through the report again, and even that's a report, it mentioned that in fact now, I'm glad that people are pointing that, okay, there is a social media vetting. Previously, no one knows on what basis your visa had been rejected. At least now you know how to hack the process. But be genuine, be authentic. I'm saying hack. That doesn't mean you need to be imposter.
Fair enough. The reason why I'm asking this question is that there are so many doubts at this stage, and you're saying the fact that there is no need to panic. And you've been handling calls since morning, isn't it? Of questions from students and parents coming in. So what would be your message to the people, the students who are just about to go for a visa application, or who have had their visa interview done and that they're waiting for the results? You, as somebody, as part of the ecosystem of enabling students who are going abroad to study, you haven't heard anything from the authorities, isn't it? There is absolutely no confirmation or no hint whatsoever.
We heard from media itself.
So, I mean, Dr. Amalendra Mishra, another thing I want to talk about, we're still having this conversation on the basis of media reports. Somebody like Saurabh who enables Indian students to go abroad and settle abroad, he hasn't heard anything officially, and neither has anything we have got as an official statement from the US government. So it's important to remind the viewers that so far there is nothing official from the US. But the one thing is that statement that came in from the US embassy in India, that students should be careful, they should keep their attendance in check, and they should ensure that they don't lose their student visa status. That also alludes to a possibility that there will be greater scrutiny, isn't it?
Well, let me clarify something that's very important in this context, so far as your students and their parents are concerned. The Trump administration has issued a memo to its embassies across the world, suggesting that all the scheduled appointments should be based on social media vetting. Yes, it has not been cancelled altogether, but this is a very serious issue. If they are going to look into the students' backgrounds, I'm pretty sure that 95 or maybe more than that percentage of students do not have any strong political views. They go there to have an education, to make a career, and to come back or perhaps stay overseas. But this is very concerning. The very fact that the Trump administration is saber-rattling, and it has sort of fighting a kind of open battle with an institution such as Harvard by sort of freezing its 2.6 billion US dollar grant is something. So if it is not bothered about its own established institutions, Ivy League institution, in fact, the institution par excellence, if I could put it that way, why should it bother about international students, whether they come or not? And there is also another motive that one needs to look into, and that is that the Trump administration is worried about immigration. And it feels that most of the students who come on H-1B visa or whatever that may be, they are kind of staying back and not, because since they are very able, sort of very efficient, it is undermining the US job market. So while Trump is doing this, he's also sort of playing to what the base, the constituent base of Trump's voter base is wanting him to do. That is to stop the coming of these specialists and not taking over US jobs. So there are two things that are kind of working simultaneously here: to stop the students and coming and getting an education, and in the process making a big demand on the job market, domestic job market there.
Right. Saurabh Arora, that's what is playing out in the US. Right now, we have no confirmation, but you're talking about hacks. So can you, for all the students, aspiring students looking to go to the US and overseas, any tips and tricks you can tell them to ensure that their process is smooth, in the times of uncertainty that we live in?
Be authentic, be you, be clear for what purpose you're going. If you're going for education, let it be education. Don't try to get a job. They are not inviting you to get a job. They are saying if you are coming for education, you have skills, you're getting value, you will get a job. But if you are going there only for jobs without adding value, building your skills, complying by the rules, then even in India, if our neighbors comes, we are not very happy for them getting a job. So it's fair, right? But what I'm saying, in fact, as you mentioned, it's a concerning about social media. It's a concerning that, now administration is, if it's a reports, is looking to vet enrollment basis what are their political inclination. If that's the case, it's concerning. But we all know, if you go for an interview, I ask for LinkedIn profiles, right? Because I need to ensure that what are your background, I need to ensure what are your patterns, right? So it's not wrong, but it's depend upon what purpose they are going for.
Be clear with your purpose is the word coming in from Saurabh Arora, founder and CEO of University Living. And thank you, Saurabh, for taking time to be with us here in the studio. And thank you, Dr. Amalendra Mishra, Professor of International Politics at Lancaster University.